Okay, so if you ask an expat forum what health insurance to get abroad, you typically get the same three names: Cigna, Bupa, Allianz. Apparently they're the safe choice. But safe for who? Because this whole industry, the premiums, the deductibles, the networks, it wasn't built for you and me. It was built for corporate expats, people whose employer picks the plan, pays the bill, and handles the paperwork. So if you're a freelancer abroad, you inherited a system that's designed for someone else, and you're paying for it. SafetyWing is the main challenger to this legacy model. They're built for freelancers, digital nomads, people who move. So I went ahead and got their Nomad Complete plan and tested it. I submitted a real claim and timed it. I stress tested the policy document, and I contacted their support by email, by phone, and by online chat with questions specifically designed to catch them out. And as you'll see, we definitely caught them out. I also sat down with Jan, a digital nomad who's now based in Central America, and what happened when his girlfriend ended up in an emergency room tells you everything about how the fine print can cost you. And full disclosure, SafetyWing reached out and commissioned this video. I was paid to make it, but they don't see it before it goes live, and they had no idea what I was testing. The tests are real, the receipts are real, and the verdict is entirely mine. So here are the prices: same profile, same cover, zero deductible across the board because SafetyWing doesn't have one. So I've tried to match things as closely as possible. SafetyWing quoted me $161.50 a month. Allianz Care Enhanced with outpatient came in at $375, and that includes a 14% insurance premium tax just because I'm a UK national. SafetyWing is domiciled in Puerto Rico, so I didn't pay that. Bupa Global Select came in at just under $658, and Cigna, well, this is where it gets very interesting. Cigna Silver looks like $375 at first glance, but that's inpatient only. Add outpatient, which SafetyWing includes as standard, and you're at almost $685 a month. So on price alone, SafetyWing wins easily. But there's a reason legacy providers cost more, right? Allianz is actually the most competitive on coverage. Their outpatient cap is nearly 3 times higher than SafetyWing's, and their annual limit of $2.7 million is the highest in this comparison. On maternity, and this genuinely surprised me, both Cigna and Bupa don't include it at these price points. SafetyWing covers up to $2,500 per pregnancy after a 10-month wait, plus up to $50,000 for newborn complications. That's beating 2 of the 4 providers I've compared. Also included is medical evacuation. Allianz and Bupa included that as well, and with Cigna, it's an add-on extra at $26 a month. You also get travel cover as standard with SafetyWing, so that's trip cancellation, lost luggage, delayed flights. That's all there, while none of these other providers include it. And if you want electronics theft cover, say your laptop is stolen while you're traveling, unlike the legacy plans, SafetyWing also offers it as an add-on. One thing all 4 plans have in common is pre-authorization requirements. They're there and they're strict, but that's normal. What they don't have in common is the sign-up experience. And honestly, I think you're going to expect that going in because SafetyWing is a modern digital product, and there was no medical underwriting. I got an instant online price and I was covered within minutes. The legacy providers, on the other hand, felt a lot slower, and they actually may require medical underwriting, which means that your price could change or certain conditions could be excluded before you're even covered. My honest summary here is that if you're a heavy healthcare user, Allianz Care Enhanced makes the most compelling legacy case. Cigna Silver is hard to justify at $684 a month, given what you get. But if you're generally healthy, and you move around and you don't want to spend $500 a month for a brand name, the numbers for SafetyWing speak for themselves. And before we get into any real-world testing, if you are considering signing up for SafetyWing, I put an affiliate link in the description box below. If you'd like to support the channel and you'd like to support me, then please do consider using it. Okay, so that's the price and the coverage on paper. Now let's see what happens in the real world. One of SafetyWing's key selling points is that you get one policy that works across 175 countries and it stays active in your home country, which most insurers don't offer. So I wanted to test that specifically and whether they'd actually pay out on a wellness claim, not just an emergency. I booked a health MOT with Blue Crest and paid on my Amex. The policy requires proof of personal payment, and as a side win, I earn points on the purchase. And SafetyWing covers up to $350 a year for tests like this, and I think for a freelancer without a company health scheme, that's going to be a really useful benefit. Alright, so I've just submitted the SafetyWing claim. It is bang on 11 o'clock on the 24th of February, so we're going to see how long it takes to hopefully be accepted. It might be rejected, that will be very interesting. What also will be interesting to see is whether or not I will receive the exact amount of money that I spent. I spent 188 British pounds for that health assessment, but everything I've seen on SafetyWing has been quoted in US dollar. Although they do let you select the specific currency when you're submitting the claim. So they know exactly how much I spent, and they can also see the receipt, of course. But are they going to send me like US dollars, like the currency equivalent in USD, and then am I going to have to incur like an FX margin fee or a transaction fee cost? That'll be interesting to see, but I suppose firstly, what'll be interesting is to see whether or not they accept this claim. It took just 2 days before SafetyWing came back to me asking for 2 things: proof of payment and an itemized invoice. So the generic receipt, which is what I sent, wasn't good enough, so I resubmitted the new documents. And the policy promises reimbursement within 15 business days of receiving all the required documents. So that's now done, and the clock has started again. Okay, today is the 9th of March. I submitted that claim originally on the 24th of February, so it's been 9 business days since submitting, and I just received an email. We have been approved. A big part of me is quite relieved actually that was approved, because otherwise this would have been a very expensive test. But ultimately it was always going to be approved, right? It's quite a straightforward thing to claim for. I know according to the policy documentation that I'm entitled to that. But for you that could be different depending on what you're claiming. And I think that's important, because a more complex claim, something involving ongoing treatment or a specialist referral, could take longer to process. But the policy promises just 15 business days regardless of the claim. And on this one, they came in well under that. And on the currency question, I was reimbursed in British pounds, and the day after the claim was fully approved. So test 1 was a pass, but that was a pretty easy claim to get approved. The real question is what happens when things get complicated, when you actually have to look through the fine print.
I hate going through the fine print in my contract. I had to do it a few times actually. Super frustrating experience. Last year, when I was on the island of La Palma in Spain, beautiful island, my girlfriend got sick. And I thought I had a clause in the contract that said, whenever you have to go to the emergency room, the deductible would not apply. I remember that was the case when I signed the contract. She went to the emergency room because she got sick, had some treatment. We thought, okay, we're gonna just submit it to the health insurance, get our money back, all good. No worries. And then we did that, and it actually turns out that there was a clause in there that said only within Panama deductible is waived when you go to the emergency room. So we didn't know about that, and there are plenty of these clauses, and I don't like the missing transparency with the insurance I'm in with right now. Wish it was more simple, to be honest.
SafetyWing has fine print too, so I went straight to the pre-authorization section, the part that tells you what you need to do before treatment, and the part that if you get wrong can cost you money. The policy lists a contact email address for queries, so I drafted some questions and hit send, and within just a few moments, I received a response. The email bounced. Turns out the address that I found was incorrect, and it's obviously a typo, but that hyphen is the difference between reaching someone urgently and not. But now with the correct address, I sent a real scenario about back pain, and I asked these 3 questions. The response came back in 18 minutes, which is genuinely impressive for email, and it was thorough. But the physio answer flags something worth knowing. You'll likely need a GP referral first, which in the UK means potentially £100 out of pocket before actual treatment starts. Now that's not unique to SafetyWing, most insurers require a referral, but what is interesting is that the policy classifies your physiotherapist as a physician. So I asked if that's the case, then why do I need a GP referral at all? The response didn't really answer me. And I know it's a bit nitpicky, but I think it's the kind of ambiguity that could cost someone money if they assume that their physio could handle the paperwork themselves. But ultimately they were quick to respond. 18 minutes is hard to fault. But what about on the phone? So the point of this phone call is to test two things. How long does it take to actually get someone on the line? Because that's obviously going to be very important if it's a matter of urgency. And two, does the person who answers the phone actually know what they're talking about? And to test that, I've got two questions. One is pretty straightforward, and I think the other one might be a bit tricky if you don't know the policy document, but realistically, any decent support agent should be able to answer that question as well. And I'm going to phone the number from the policy document. This is specifically for the health insurance aspect of the policy. So this number is for VUMI, and it's a toll-free number apparently in the US, which is obviously not going to be toll-free for me.
Welcome to VUMI's 24/7 service. Thank you for calling VUMI. My name. How can I help you today?
That was quick. Hi. I just have a couple of questions regarding my Nomad insurance policy with SafetyWing. I'm currently at home in the UK, which is my primary residence. If I get sick and I need to see a doctor, is my Nomad health cover active?
Yes, it's active.
Brilliant. And just one more question. I was treated for high blood pressure about a year ago. I'm completely fine now and not on medication, but if I have heart issues while I'm traveling, will I be covered?
Let me just check. Can I see any exclusions on your policy? And this is an international insurance, so yes, you have coverage.
I just want to confirm, just because it's quite important to me. So I was treated for high blood pressure about a year ago. If I have any heart issues when I'm traveling, I'll be covered.
Let me just check something here in your policy.
I'm definitely not covered. Oh, no. The first question was extremely easy. You know, if something happens to me when I'm at home, am I covered? Yes, because this covers me at home. But this slightly more nuanced question is hard. I think she's looking at my policy overall, and because SafetyWing doesn't do medical underwriting, there won't be any medical exclusions under my name. But that could be dangerous because you might then assume that you're covered for anything.
Okay, Jonathan, thank you so much for holding. I was checking some information that I found here in your policy.
Yep. Okay, well, thank you. So, just to confirm, if I have any problems with my heart, I'll be covered.
Yeah, I can't see any exclusion here regarding your heart disease. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you for your time today.
You're welcome. Anything else I can help you with?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Bye. Like I said, I think the reason she got it wrong is that she looked at my policy record, and because SafetyWing doesn't do medical underwriting at sign-up, there are no exclusions listed against my name. She saw a clean record and told me I was covered. But in the policy document, it says that a pre-existing condition includes anything you receive diagnosis for or treatment for within 2 years before your start date. Surely then, high blood pressure treated a year ago is a pre-existing condition. Whether a heart issue would then be considered related or treated as something separate is genuinely hard to know. And that's why a question like that is difficult to answer. It's nuanced. I appreciate that, but the agent didn't get anywhere near the nuance. She just said, yes, you're covered, and I'm not sure I would be. Now, to be fair, they did answer fast. There was basically no waiting, which is great. And English didn't actually appear to be her first language, so there may have been some difficulty understanding me, but perhaps the question should have been escalated and given a second opinion, which was exactly what happened when I contacted SafetyWing's online support. Just not quite how I expected. So that phone call was specifically for the health insurance side of the policy. There's no phone number for the travel side, so to test that, I went to their online chat. But this time, I didn't set a trap. I just asked a genuine question that I think many people would have. Page 3 says you are not covered in your primary residence. But what does primary residence mean? Is that your home country or your home address? Because that distinction completely changes whether stuff like the dental add-on works for me in London or not. And I think it would be great if this policy covered hygienist visits or cleaning while I'm at home. The first agent joined. I asked if I could call her Tio. She left. I guess not. The second agent came back with a confident answer. Yes, dental works in your country of residence. So just to confirm, I pushed back because page 3 says I'm not covered at my primary residence. And she said those disclaimers only apply to the travel part. And that's not really an answer. So I pasted the policy into the chat and she said she'd check with the policy expert. And after several hours of waiting, I asked for an update, and a third agent appeared and told me that the expert typically responds within 2 business days. I also got impatient and tried emailing as well. The response came back in just 4 minutes, which is great, but they told me the same thing. Day 3 came and went, still nothing. A fourth agent then told me that she'd reached out again, and hopefully I'd have an answer soon. Then on April the 7th, 7 days after I first asked, the agent Theodora joined the chat, which was the same agent who left after I asked to call her Theo. So we'd gone full circle, and I mentioned the delay, and she apologized and said that the internal discussions had taken longer than expected, but they still didn't have an answer. So I waited till the next morning, and when I couldn't get a confirmation, I threatened to cancel my policy. And within minutes, the answer arrived. The coverage applies in your country of residence with the exception of inside the primary residence, your house or apartment. So the answer was yes. And importantly, it was delivered with confidence and assurance. And that's what was missing initially. And to be fair to the first agent, she wasn't wrong. I am covered for dental in the UK. She just didn't confirm it, and instead needed a second opinion from the policy expert who never got back to me after 7 business days, and it took a cancellation request to finally get an answer. Now, SafetyWing did mention that some of their team were away over Easter, and to be fair, the conversation did run across that period, but I'm not sure that excuses it. And before I give you my overall verdict, there's one more thing worth knowing. What happens if you do want to cancel? So Nomad Complete is a 12-month contract, so go in knowing that if you cancel within the first 15 days, you'll get a full refund. After that, you only get back up to 65% of whatever you haven't used. SafetyWing keeps 35% as an admin fee, so if you've been on the plan a while, that's not going to be too much. But if you cancel earlier, the cost will be quite great. If you pay monthly like I was, the exposure is minimal. I just asked to cancel a day before my monthly payment was due. And as for the process, there's no cancel button in the dashboard, which is quite annoying, and you have to contact support, who then forward it to a different team, who get back to you within 2 business days. And to their credit, they did. The whole cancellation part was really smooth. They reached out within 2 days. They confirmed that the 15th of April would be my last day of cover, and a refund was issued shortly after. But what about my overall verdict? Well, on price, legacy providers aren't even close to SafetyWing. You're looking at potentially $2,500 to over $6,000 a year in savings, depending on which plan you're comparing against. For a generally healthy freelancer who moves around, that's a very compelling number. On coverage, it holds up better than you'd expect at this price point. Outpatient included as standard, as well as maternity, when Cigna and Bupa don't offer it at these price points. Travel cover and evacuation are built in, electronics theft is available as an add-on, and the claim I made was processed quickly and paid out within just 9 business days. Email support was also fast and thorough, which I was genuinely impressed by, but unfortunately the support picture overall was a bit more complicated. None of it was catastrophic, but I think we would all agree that insurance is the one product where you need trust that when you have a question, you'll get the right answer. But the product is strong and the price is compelling. Just please read the policy documents yourself and don't rely solely on what support tells you. And if you're considering dental or electronics theft add-ons, know that they work at home, just not inside your house or apartment. Which, by the way, who has a dentist go to their home? That seems a bit strange to me, but look, it's great that SafetyWing covers you for dental appointments and theft in your home country. That's actually a lot more generous than you'd expect from a travel add-on. And I think if you're a healthy freelancer moving between countries who want solid health cover without paying corporate expat prices, SafetyWing Nomad Complete is definitely worth consideration. Just go in with your eyes open. The link is in the description if you want to take a look, and if you found this video useful, please give it a like to help more people find it. And if you've used SafetyWing or any of the providers that I've compared today, I'd genuinely love to hear your experience in the comments. Insurance is very personal, and my experience won't be everyone's, so let me know. Thank you very much.